What I hope to do in this video is show you how the different ways that they can ask you questions in ethics in studies of religion. Um, this is just my ideas on what's going to make it easier for you to differentiate between the different questions that they ask you and which aspects of the content are they really wanting you to talk about when you get a question in regards to ethics in Christianity. So, for example, what do they really want to us to talk about in the first one there? It should be reasonably simple. From within one of the following areas, identify one ethical teaching and its origin. We'd choose bioethics, obviously. How does the ethical teaching identified in Part A guide adherents in their daily living? Okay, that's where it gets a little bit more tricky. So that's what I'm hopefully going to show you in this next video. So regardless of what question they ask you in ethics, whether it's in section 2, where it can be anything between a 2 marker to a 9 marker, or in the essay, we can have a look at in 3 different levels. The first level that we look at, that I call level 1, is ethics in Christianity. This means that regardless of whether it's environmental, sexual ethics, bioethics, business ethics, economical ethics, ethics in housing transactions, whatever the ethical area might be, that Christianity provides guidance for its followers, regardless of what the ethical area is. So, one way that we can look at this is what are the sources of ethics in Christianity? So this is your year 11 stuff. To what are they talking about in regards to ethics, regardless of the area? So we can either go to revealed law. So the examples of revealed law there are obviously the sacred texts. That usually comes in the Decalogue, in the Hebrew scriptures, the Beatitudes in the Christian scriptures, and Jesus' commandment of love. The other area that Christians go to would be the natural law. This is the law written in our hearts. According to St. Paul. So he would tell us that we don't necessarily need any revealed law to tell us that we know what's right and wrong, and in the majority of situations, we should be able to know what to do. This could also come into Jesus' commandment of love, even though it's not explicitly written what you need to do in every situation. If you love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your might, and then love one another as Jesus loved us, then it should make sense what we do in the majority of situations. Christians can then go to the authority of the church, or the tradition of the church fathers. In regards to this, so what the priest, a bishop, an archbishop, a pope may have said. We often get this in magisterium for Catholicism, could be the church fathers in Orthodoxy. Another thing that they can go to is the experience that the church has had in ethical issues that have occurred in the last 2,000 years or so. Because, for example, a lot of the bioethical issues weren't an issue back in Jesus' time, but things like embryonic stem cell research is an issue now. So this is the ethics in Christianity that the majority of questions ask you for. If you get ethics in an essay in Christianity, the extended response, more than likely you're going to have to talk about it in terms of this level 1 here. What you would also need to be able to do is talk about it in terms of the variants in Christianity. So although the variants of, say, Protestantism, the different churches of Protestantism, Orthodoxy, and Catholicism may come to the same conclusion, the way they get to their conclusion may differ somewhat. So, for example, the revealed law, the majority of Protestant churches would look at Revealed law as being their source of guidance. Catholicism would probably say natural law, the law written in our hearts in most situations, but could also obviously go to the revealed law, and then have a look at the Orthodox would probably look at the experience in the authority of the Church Fathers as the first place that they might go to if they don't necessarily have an easy way to make a decision for them in regards to an ethical issue. The second level of questioning that they can ask us about is the ethical area. And for us, this is bioethics. So we've gone down from ethics in Christianity into an ethical area, and in our case, it's bioethics. Other kids will study sexual ethics, other kids will study environmental ethics, and they're the three options that we're given in the HSC. However, there are other ethical areas, like I said at the top, ethics in business, ethics in sport, ethics to do with drug use, how we should relate in when we're transferring money, that type of thing. We've been given three options. People at Aquinas are focusing on bioethics here. Now, this is where we still, yes, we use the revealed law, natural law, authority, and experience to help guide adherents in how they make their decision. Particular ethical teachings in bioethics are absolutely Jesus's commandment of love, Imago Dei, we're created in the image and likeness of God, sanctity of human life, and the dignity of the human person. This is particularly a Catholic social teaching issue, the dignity of the human person, but absolutely can be used. So if it talks about guidance, you would say how a Christian would follow, yes, the level 1 stuff. Particular to bioethics are these ethical teachings. And you'll notice that I really haven't touched on the third level, which is so often the area that students go straight to because they haven't read the question effectively enough. And these are issues within the ethical area, so for our case, within bioethics. This is where we can talk about our knowledge of embryonic stem cell research, abortion, IVF, organ transplants. Now you should probably know 3 of these and what the Christian ethical teaching is in regards to these ethical issues, and know 2 of them really well. So what I would suggest that you do, and what I would do, was look at the life before birth ones of embryonic stem cell research and abortion. And the reason I would choose those 2 is because they're the 2 that I know the best. For you, it might be 2 different other areas that you look at. These are level 3 issues within bioethics. When you get asked a question on them, most often they're either going to be a very only a couple of marks have been allocated to this, say 3 or 4 marker, or they're used as examples to complement the guidance provided in bioethics or in ethics in Christianity as in general. So it supports your knowledge of Christian ethics, these bioethical issues. So an example, we'll go back to the top when we're looking at this first one, for example. From within one of the following areas, identify one ethical teaching and its origin. So in regards to bioethics, we would have a look at, all right, it's only worth 2 marks, so something small. We don't even have to touch on embryonic stem cell research, IVF, abortion, etc. We could just say Jesus' commandment of love, Christian scriptures. One ethical teaching, Jesus' commandment of love, its origin, Christian scriptures. There's my 2 marks. How does the ethical teaching identified in A, so Jesus' commandment of love, I think I said, guide adherents, so community and individuals, in their daily living? This is where ethical teaching, okay, so now I've got to use Jesus' commandment of love, guide them in their daily living. I would talk about what Jesus' commandment of love is in this 5 marker, and then so I'm at level 2, I'd go down to level 3 and talk about it. Well, it guides adherence in regards to living a life the way that Jesus suggested. Love one another as I have loved you. Use love in all situations. Then I would use examples of embryonic stem cell research and abortion to help me answer that question. I've got another one from one of the past papers here. So again, in the section 2, so the first 2 we'll forget about because they're about baptism. Explain ethical teaching in Christianity in one of the following areas. Bioethics. Okay, it's worth 6 marks. So I need cause and effect. Ethical teaching in Christianity in one of the following areas. Bioethics. So what I would do is I would suggest that this is aimed at a level 2 question because it's asking me directly about bioethics. It's worth 6 marks. So I would certainly be using ethics in Christianity here because it's a cause and effect. So the revealed law, natural law, depending on the variance, would help guide adherence, and its ethical teaching in the revealed law is Jesus' commandment of love, Imago Dei, sanctity of human life, and dignity of the human person. And then I might use some level 3 just to ram home the point and say, yeah, I know what you're talking about in regards to bioethics. What we would find at the Marketing Centre is that so many of the kids would go straight to level 3 and start talking about abortion and embryonic stem cell research without talking about what it's actually asking, the ethical teaching. Another example, this one's in a 20 marker. So with a 20 marker, we're definitely going to have to use all 3 levels of question. All 3 levels is just where we put our emphasis. Live a life filled with love. Wow, that's already giving us Jesus' commandment, following the example of Christ, saying exactly what it was in Paul's letter to the Ephesians. So, how does show by example, Christianity guide adherents, community, and the individual to live their lives filled with love? Okay, so we would obviously go to, we would look at doing 20 marks on ethics here, even though it hasn't asked us anything specifically about ethics. So what I would do is I would go in and talk about everything from level 1, level 2, level 3, how the variants differ by providing those examples and keep hitting that quote there that they've given. I could potentially talk about baptism in there as well because that's following in Jesus' example, life, death, resurrection and ascension. And we've got one more example here that we could use. It says, okay, there's the diagram. You've focused on the interrelated aspects. All right, so we've definitely got ethics there. Christianity. Discuss, so for and against, the relationship between, right, so we've got to do a few things, at least 2 of the aspects shown in the diagram, and the way they contribute to Christianity as a living religious tradition. So we have to talk about origin, past, present, future, how they contribute to the tradition. 20 marker, I'd be looking at how they contribute to the tradition, everything from the origin, everything that's in that revealed law there, talk about the law that was written on our hearts and how this has been used to develop all understanding in Christianity in regards to ethics, particularly in bioethics, using Jesus' commandment of love, the sanctity of human life, etc. Maybe provide some examples here of how that's done, and then it'll be a whole new video to show you how you would link the significant practice or significant people and ideas to this as well. check out. There's another video on this channel that will show you more applications of the levels of ethics in Christianity.